This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, in the
Ajay,
last
before starting
session,
the session, I would like to ask you one thing. So, last two sessions we haven't received the record sessions.
that I will be sharing the links in the group.
Okay, fine. Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay. All right. So in the last session, we were talking about basic business process that we have to understand before we proceed with understanding SAP FICO or before we proceed with accounting process. We understood that as a FICO consultant, we are directly working with accounting and you will be working with the clients, users, where your discussions, interactions, everything is straight away connected to accounting and finance. And in that process, we understood certain basic points related to your accounting business process. Let us try to understand the different points in today's session. In general, as a FICO consultant, whenever we talk about any SAP FICO, first point that we will be looking at is, or anything that we will be talking about is configuration. This is the quite common point that we are all hearing in the market, or even when you practice, even when you go to market, or even if you attend any interview, if you're in any project, you will be frequently hearing a topic called you're supposed to work on configuration. Okay, now in reality, configuration is a least activity that a consultant will be doing. Meaning, when it comes to configuration, it is a offline activity. When I say offline activity, as a FICO consultant, you're all aware that you will be working directly with the client or you will be working with your team. For example, if I'm a FICO consultant, before I do the configuration, I need to make sure I understand the client requirement or I understand the client expectation. To understand the client requirement or to understand the client expectation, I need to get into a meeting or I need to get into a discussion with the client. When you're discussing with the client or when you're in a meeting with the client, you're not going to show how you're going to configure, what you're going to configure to the client, because configuration is a top secret. That's a consulting secret. Okay, the way you're configuring, what factors you're considering, you're not going to reveal it to your client, because that configuration is what is making you gain money from your client. Because of that configuration is what you are billing your client. If you show this is what you need to do, then you are not able to make any revenue from the client. So that's a top secret. It is always offline activity for any consultant. Meaning, tomorrow if I have to work in a project, if I need to make any configuration setting, I cannot just like that do any configuration the way you practice your SAP FICO. Here what I mean to say is, when you are practicing, when you are learning SAP FICO, you will be doing a configuration in such a way that you will refer a documentation, you will refer any source, whatever is mentioned there we are going to replicate in your test server. In this process, what is going to happen, we feel that okay, to make this particular process or to make this particular functionality work, these are all the 10 steps that I need to configure, or these are the 5 steps that I need to configure. So you will be able to do the configuration without any difficulty. You will find, in fact, it is very easy and this is working very fast, and I'm very comfortable, I'm very confident on it. But this is not the situation when you are in any project, because as I said, configuration will be the last activity that you are going to work. Before you do the configuration, we need to make sure you will get into a call or you will get into a meeting or to a discussion with the business user or with your client. There you need to talk about the business process, ask your client about their current business process, understand their existing business process, document the existing business process. Accordingly, make sure you will understand and you are in a position to map their business process with SAP business process. To match this, what settings you need to maintain, only those settings you have to maintain. Meaning, even if you have the configuration material with you, configuration steps with you, it is not so easy to configure when you're in a project. When you're practicing, it is very easy because we are blindly doing when I say we are blindly doing a configuration, whenever you practice, we straight away go to a configuration screen, we add a new entries, we create left and right entries, left and right postings without having any requirement, without having any scenario in our mind. which will never allow us to understand why we are doing the configuration and what you are going to test with this configuration. What is happening with this in the system, we will never understand, because you have no requirement, you have no scenario, you have no example when you're doing the configuration. When we are doing the configuration without any requirement, without any scenario, definitely it is not possible for us to test, understand what is happening in the system, what changes are happening, what is the impact in the system with your setting. When we are not able to understand what is happening, whatever you do, how much ever we practice, is not going to help us. Okay. Now, the reason why we are writing point number 1 is configuration, because we have to remove this configuration point from your mind, that as a FICO consultant, you are going to work on configuration. Because majoritarily, most of us will think that as a FICO consultant, it is all about configuration, but it is not. It is not about configuration. Configuration is just a part of it. The way you get configuration document in the Google and all, tomorrow when you're in a project, in the similar way you will get all the configuration documents from the Google, or in your company itself you will have all the configuration documents for previous projects. For example, if you're working in XYZ company as a FICO consultant, this XYZ company would have implemented SAP for so many clients before. So whatever the topic that you talk, you will have a documentation there. Meaning it's very easy to find a configuration document even when you are in a project. But that is not going to help you. What is going to help you, how you are able to understand this document and how you are able to connect, relate this document to your client business process, is what the point that you have to understand. That is what is something that you have to learn, that you have to develop as a consultant. That is nothing but your consulting skill. And you're joining training or you're learning SAP FICO to gain, to understand that consulting skill set, not configuration skill set. As I repeatedly mentioned, for us to learn configuration skill set, it's a free of cost. When I say it is a free of cost, we don't need to invest even a rupee for doing the config. You are investing money, time only to understand the process, only to develop your consulting skill set. Please keep this point in your mind. Only then it is possible for us to realize the practical reality and then understand, learn SAP FICO in a sequential order, the way it is required for a FICO consultant. In the same way, you have to understand, you have to practice, you have to learn. If you have this clarity right from the beginning, you will not be deviated, you will not be manipulated by anybody. You have your own clarity. If we do not have our own clarity, whatever you hear, we frequently get our mindset changed. If you hear X, you will assume that this is what it is going to work. If you hear Y, you will again think that no, this is how it is going to work. That should not be there, and nothing should change your mind. You should have your own clarity, and you should have that confidence of, yes, I can learn SAP FICO, I will become a consultant. If you are not confident, it is very difficult, and it is not recommended also to join SAP FICO course. Okay, now first point, or the important point that you have to understand, is there is something called data flow in SAP FICO. This most important point we need to understand before we step into SAP FICO or any discussion related to SAP FICO. First one here is always business requirement. First one is business requirement. Second one is configuration. Third one is your master data. Fourth one is your transaction data. Fifth one is your reports. Sixth one is your support. So it's a continuous process. When I say it is a continuous process, you can take any process, you can take any client, any business. Now this is something that we're straight away relating it to SAP FICO business process, SAP FICO data flow. We're not talking in general about SAP. We are talking specifically related to SAP FICO, because our intention is to become a FICO consultant. If our intention is to become a FICO consultant, we need to make sure we understand points related to SAP FICO only. Do not understand, do not see points in general to SAP, because you are not learning SAP in general, you are learning specifically FICO. Your first target is supposed to be understanding, knowing clear-cut points related to SAP FICO as a consultant, whatever you will be doing in a project, same points we need to understand. That is where you have to focus. Now this is the data flow in SAP FICO. If you see this, configuration is at the second position. Above configuration, below configuration, there are different points. Meaning, before you do the configuration, you have something called business requirement. After you do the configuration, you have something called master data, transaction data, reports, and then you have support. Now here, your business requirement, others please be on mute. Here your business requirement will be provided by client. Configuration you will do as a consultant. Master data is all related to your client, and support you are going to provide as a consultant. Now in this activity, for you to do the configuration, because this is what we all have mentally, this is how we feel that SAP FICO is all about. Now before you do any configuration, it is not straightforward. If I give you a system and if I want you to work on SAP, does not mean that you sit and start creating a company code, just chart of account, fiscal year, whatever the settings that you have, because you have to configure the system based on the business requirement. You have to configure the system based on the business requirement. Who will give the business requirement? Client will give the business requirement. Now client does not know SAP. Client is not the person who learned SAP FICO like you. Clients, they do not have SAP, they now purchased SAP, meaning they know nothing about SAP, they know nothing about SAP FICO. You are the one who is the expert of SAP FICO. According to the client, you are an expert of SAP FICO who has an implementation experience of 3 to 4 years. You worked for minimum 3 to 4 projects, 3 to 4 clients. You are well versed with the business processes of accounting, and you can understand my business process and you can give a best solution to me. This is what the impression that any client has on any consultant. Meaning you're representing, you're an experienced candidate, meaning you will be in a position to understand the business process. That is the only reason why everybody wants an experienced candidate for SAP FICO. If it is only a configuration activity, nobody wants your experience. Anybody is fine with them. In fact, freshers can work better than an experienced candidate if it is related to configuration. But fresher cannot work on configuration because configuration is not straightforward. Why not straightforward? Configuration is dependent on your business requirement. Fresher cannot understand business process because they do not have any accounting experience. They have not seen any business processes before. As an experienced candidate, you can understand, you can think, you can apply your thought process, your accounting knowledge, skill set to see that whether a business process can be fit into SAP, or if there are any changes, any other alternative process to be recommended. If you do not have any experience, it is not possible. And if you are not an experienced candidate, no client wants to take you. Client always says, no, I want experienced candidate only. No client is ready to take inexperienced candidate or fresher unless and until they are supported by a senior consultant in the front end. Now, when we know that these are all the factors which are currently happening in the market, it is a big mistake that we are doing that we learn only configuration. Because only when you see, only when you understand the ground realities, you will have a clear clarity. Okay, this is what the expectation in the market. If I want to get into SAP, if I want to become a consultant, this is not what I want to understand. I need to understand things in a different way. What will be my approach? How I will understand? Then you are able to progress. You will be able to understand system in a better way, in an efficient way. So business requirement, you will get it from the client. Now, how client will give you the business requirement? First of all, client, they only know about their business process. Client know about only their business process. With their business process, they cannot implement SAP. With their business process, they cannot implement SAP because they do not know what is SAP, how SAP functions, what settings are to be maintained. Client is not aware of it. So what they will do, they dependent on consulting companies, or they're dependent on SAP service providers. or SAP partners. What SAP partner, SAP service provider will do? They will get the project of your particular client, whoever purchased SAP license, they have to implement SAP for them. When they implement SAP for them, does not mean that I have two FICO consultants. I will ask these FICO consultants to go and configure SAP FICO for them. It is not going to happen that way. Now we are all thinking that SAP FICO you can learn in 3 months. When we say that SAP FICO you can learn in 3 months, 3 months you are going to learn 1 hour a day. 3 months you are going to learn 1 hour a day, meaning 1 hour a day, 3 months you can complete the entire SAP FICO course. But 8 hours a day, you are going to complete a project for 6 months, for 9 months, for 1 year. Then what is the difference? You have to practically realize things. If you say that within 1 hour class, you can complete the entire SAP FICO course within 3 months, then 8 hours a day you are going to work. And why project is taking 6 months? Why project is taking 9 months? Why project is taking 1 year? You need to practically question yourself. If a project cannot be completed working 8 hours a day, not less than 6 months, then how we are able to complete the SAP FICO within 3 months, 1 hour a day? Meaning there is a huge difference here. Here what you are doing, you are blindly doing the configuration. There is no requirement, there is no testing, there is no validation checkpoint, there is no complete business process involvement here. Because we are considering only configuration, you can complete within 10 days also. Because we are configuring only the settings, you can complete within 10 days also. But this is not going to work out in any project in the entire world. When there is something which is not happening in the entire world, and we are in a world where we feel that within 3 months I will complete, within 2 months I will complete, within a month I will complete, is practically impossible. The moment you get that thought, I wanted to complete within 2 months, within 1 month, within 45 days, as long as you have this thought, as long as you have this mindset, you will never get job in SAP FICO, because that is practically impossible scenario. Because we are with a mindset which is practically not possible. On paper, offline, you can say that yes, I learned SAP FICO within 2 months, I completed my course within 45 days, fast track and all. That is only for completing the course. Completing the coursing is completing the course is a different activity. Understanding SAP FICO, getting a job in SAP FICO, making a career in SAP FICO is a different activity. You don't believe? There are many people who will join SAP FICO training after getting the job. There are many people who will join SAP FICO course after getting the SAP FICO consultant job. There are many people who will join SAP FICO course while they are working as a FICO consultant, having some real-time experience. Then you'll have to question yourself, why people are again joining for SAP FICO course when they are already working as a FICO consultant? Why they are joining again? Meaning whatever the knowledge that they have, whatever the way that they practice is not sufficient. They want to upgrade, they want to know different things. It's a ocean. When I say it's an ocean, it's a never ending story. SAP FICO, as you know, accounting is incomplete. When I say accounting is incomplete, when I say everything is complete, I will just add a zero there. Anywhere I'll put 0, or anywhere I'll put 1. Every number will get updated. Again you have to rework, sit on reconciliation and all. Meaning that is how accounting is, and now you are directly related to accounting. And anywhere if there is any problem, as a FICO consultant, you have to be available, you have to be ready to step in, understand the problem, provide a solution, make sure that the business is not suffered. And for you to do it, this is not the configuration activity. And as we discussed, configuration is in middle. When I say configuration is in middle, before you do configuration, you need somebody to give the requirement. After you do the configuration, you need somebody to confirm that whatever you did is correct. Before doing the activity, you need a confirmation. After doing the activity also, you need the confirmation. Meaning, without confirmation, you can do nothing. Even though I know the config, now let me put some more points here. There is something called blueprint. Okay, let me put only blueprint. There is something called blueprint. There is something called UAT. In between, I'll put configuration. There is something called blueprint. This blueprint is nothing but consolidated or finalized client business process. Blueprint is nothing but finalized business process. And UAT is nothing but tested business process. And configuration is to make sure this requirement is satisfied, this requirement is satisfied, meaning straight away you can do nothing here. When I say straight away you can do nothing here, you have to realize slowly, you have to understand slowly. Only when these points are, injected into our mind, you will be able to apply your mind to understand what is SAP FICO, what you are supposed to know, how you are supposed to practice, and how you are supposed to configure, what you are supposed to know for it. Otherwise, we will end up focusing only on the configuration, which will never allow you to fulfill your dream of learning SAP FICO, making a career in SAP. Unless and until you are clear with what is supposed to be understood, what is supposed to be learned, you will never be able to understand, you will never be able to complete your FICO course. Now, blueprint is nothing but finalized business process. This finalized business process will come from your business requirement. Your business requirement will give you finalized business process. This finalized business process will tell you what is your client business process, meaning even when you are practicing, you are not supposed to blindly practice. When I say you're not supposed to blindly practice, most of the times what we will do is when we practice, we take some fancy numbers, fancy names. 1111, 2222, 1234, ABCD, AA, double B, double C, double D. Something like this you will take. There is no name, there is no logic, there is no meaning for what company code that you are taking. When the company name that you are not able to take the right one, when we do not have any idea why you are taking this company code, forget about the configuration, whatever you are doing. You have no clarity on why you are taking the particular company code, why you are configuring for this, what is this client and all. There is no point, whatever you configure, you will never understand because you have gone under a trap called configuration. And this is a big trap. And it is very difficult to come out of this. This is very difficult to come out of this trap if you are under a mindset where according to you SAP FICO means only config. And you will never understand why you are not getting a job, you will never understand why you are not able to understand. Even when you are working, you will never realize I am working mechanically but I do not know why I am doing all this. Not able to understand the scenario requirement. When there is an issue raised, my senior is able to understand, my manager is able to understand, they can quickly tell go check this here, but I'm not able to understand, I don't know why. The only reason is your mind is fully loaded with configuration. And this configuration, as long as you have in your mind, you will never move forward. Even if you move forward, you will always have something called fear, something called no confidence. You will talk but you don't sound confident. You will talk but you will have that fear. Whether I'm right or I'm wrong, you don't have that confidence. When you do not have that confidence, you cannot talk openly to anybody. Whenever somebody says no, this is not correct, you will say, oh okay, this is not correct, I keep quiet. Because you are not confident on what you're talking, you're not confident on how system works, how consultant works, how consultant behaves in a project. This is what you are supposed to know, not the config. As I mentioned, if you wanted to learn configuration, it's a free of cost. Freely you will get 100 variety of documents in the social media, Google and all. Get it, you will watch n number of videos in the YouTube. There are a lot of free content in the YouTube, different sources. You can get it for free of cost. Better than what I teach, you will get in the YouTube. Better than what I talk, you will get more content in the Google for free of cost. But what you are learning here is not the config. You are learning how to understand SAP FICO, what you will do as a consultant. That is what the consulting skill is, what I am going to teach you. That is what you are going to expect. That is what you are going to learn from me. Other than that, whatever I talk related to configuration, I am deviating you, I am manipulating you. That's it. Which you will realize after completing your course. which you will realize when you attend your first interview. The day is where you will realize what happened in your past. Until then, you will be very happy with what you're doing, because anything that I show, you will be able to do it. Anything that I give the assignment and all, you will be able to do it, because you are looking it from the config point of view. As long as you are looking the system from the config point of view, everything will be straightforward, everything will be very easy, very simple. The moment you see it from the business point of view, that is where you will see a movie. It's kind of tricky situation where you will get a lot of counter questions from your client users, and you may have to give explanations. That is where you will find it very difficult. I don't know how to talk, I don't know how to give a presentation, how to give RCAs, why issue is coming, why this is not possible, why this is possible. Nobody will say okay with your one word answer. Everybody wants you to elaborate and then explain, convince the other person. For you to elaborate, explain, convince the other person, you should have your own understanding first. You should be convinced with yourself. Only then it is possible for you to convince the other person. And this is very much important in SAP FICO. And if you are good at these areas, even though you do not practice much on SAP FICO, even though you are not good at configuration, you will still get job. Because the expected skill set, expected understanding level is different in the market. And if you are able to focus on those areas, if you are able to show your confidence at those areas in your interview, no way you will get rejected. But it is all in your hands how you are going to look at the system, what you are going to do to practice to understand. That is the only point which will make the difference. Otherwise, there is no difference. I'm not going to teach anything innovatively in SAP FICO. Whatever you do for free of cost, whatever I teach you by taking money, it is one and the same. I'm going to open the same T code, I'm going to open the same transaction, I'm going to create the same entry, but you are going to understand why we are doing all these things. The other way, you are not going to understand why you are doing it. Otherwise, technically it is the same thing. I'm not using any secret SAP, I'm not going to talk any secret points. It is the open point. But the way you are understanding conceptually is what makes a difference. And that is where you are going to pay attention. That is why you are learning SAP FICO. Right? So as we are discussing, configuration is a dependent activity on blueprint and a dependent activity on UAT. Meaning, as a consultant, whatever I do, I am working based on the business blueprint. Business blueprint is a finalized business process. Meaning, if I do a configuration, if I set up system for any particular client, straight away I cannot do it. Straight away I cannot do it, meaning I need to understand their business process first. How will I know their business process? I will never know. Because if you talk about any company, if you Google it, you will never come to know what is their business process. It is high level confidential information. What is your company? What is your, all this information? Nobody will reveal anywhere. It's a highly confidential data. And when you're working in a project and when you're working as a FICO consultant, you may be part of initial requirement gathering sessions or initial requirement collection sessions. So that is where you are going to understand existing business process. Now this existing business process, not a one-man show. It is like you have different sub processes in any client. Like you have GL business process, you have accounts payable, accounts receivable, invoicing, payment, treasury, cash, collection, taxes, fixed asset and all. Now from the different departments, from the different divisions, from the different areas, you will have different business process owners or core team members, or the SPOC in short, SMEs, subject matter expert. Everybody will call with different terminologies, different names. It is one and the same at the end of the day. You will have a business process expert from that particular area. If you're talking about AP, one person will be there who is well versed with the total accounts payable area. He will come and sit with you. He will make you understand how their accounts payable is currently working. And when they are explaining, they do not talk about any SAP. What they will talk only about their accounts payable business process or their accounts receivable business process, their bank process, their cash process, their GL process, the reports that they're generating on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, and what are all the challenges that they are facing currently, what is their expectation in SAP. All these things they are going to explain it to you. When you have a discussion with them, forget about understanding. First, you should have patience to listen to them what they're talking about. At least try to connect what it is related to, because so far whatever we discussed, so far whatever you practiced, whatever you understood, may be only related to configuration. Maybe you would have talked about create GL account, create company code, create chart of account, create fiscal year, create a tolerance group, create a document splitting, account group, number range and all. But nowhere you will get this terminology when you are with any client, because this is your consulting terminology, this is your consulting work, and you're not talking to a consultant, you're not talking to a person who is learning SAP FICO to talk these points. You're talking to a client, you're talking to a business, you're talking to a user. You are supposed to talk to a business in the business language. Your business language is always your accounting language. If you talk about what is your any SAP technical terminology content, your other person will never understand. They will understand only when you talk in the accounting language. Accounting language is what you'll have to use, means simple basic debit credit is what you have to use and explain. Same way, client also, user also will talk to you. They will explain their requirement, understand the requirement, accordingly map it, and make sure that you are able to relate the business process with SAP process. Here, what we need to understand are 2 points. Point number 1, general business process of any organization. When I say general business process of any organization, accounting related business process of any organization. In accounting, what happens in any organization, in any company, day in day out, what users are doing. You have GL, AP, AR, O2C, P2P, R2R, different sub modules, different areas of the responsibilities. If a user is working on data entry, what data they are entering, invoices, how they are entering invoices, payment, how they are making the payment, master data, how they are creating master data. Likewise, you'll have to segregate, meaning at least you should have some high level understanding first. This is how a user will work. Okay, now how they are explaining all this process, they will not tell you in detailed pinpoint. They will tell at high level only, assuming you are an experienced candidate to them. Everywhere, everybody is assuming that you are an experienced candidate, you know most of the things. But reality, I know. We know the what is the truth, what is the reality, to what extent we have the experience, what is the level of understanding and knowledge we have, only we know. But to the other person, you are an experienced candidate and you have good amount of knowledge, you can manage independently, you are confident enough. And if you yourself tell, no, I don't have any experience, I'm not confident, I'm very doubtful, I'm not sure if I can do it or not, nobody will take you. And you're not going to talk that way. You have to showcase your confidence, you have to project your experience in such a way that the other person is convinced with you. So this convincing the other person will not get confidence when you show that now look at my system, I will log into SAP, you just do a blindfold me, you close my eyes, I will do the configuration, or you wake me up 3 o'clock in the morning, I will tell all the configuration step. Nobody will care. They say that I don't need anything. They will tell, please look into the document, take the printout if required, look at the document, whatever is mentioned, please verify 2 times and then do the configuration. Meaning at that level you have to do the configuration. Left and right, if you do it, things will not work and it will create unnecessary problem. Nobody will configure left and right in any project. This left and right configuration is only in the practice. That also we will only do it. Make sure that left and right practice, blind practice, without no reason practice, you will stop it. If you are doing that way, you will never get the job. It's as simple as that. You have no clarity, you are going, you don't know where you are going, you don't know why you are doing. Tomorrow, if you look at your company, whatever you practiced, if you question yourself, what is this, why this report is showing this value, how I can pull this, how I can see this, you will have no answer for none of your questions. You don't need somebody to ask you questions. You put questions to yourself and answer yourself why you are not able to answer and why you are not able to understand. Then what is the point of configuring 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, spending 1 month, 2 month, 3 month when you are not able to answer your own questions, when you are not able to convince yourself, right? When we realize all these points from the beginning, you all have a clear understanding, a clear mindset. Tomorrow you are supposed to ask me different questions. What is this? What is that? Why this? Why not like that? You are supposed to ask me different questions. You should ask whatever the question, confusion that strikes your mind. You are free to ask me any question, and I'll be there to answer you. I'll be there to support you, assist you until you get job in SAP. But make sure you have to open up. It's not that you attend the classes, whatever I teach or whatever I tell you practice will not work. Unless and until you speak up, unless and until you open up, you start putting your questions on the table, I will not know that this is where you are suffering, this is where you have confusion. You need to ask me. And for that to happen, you need to practice. And for that to happen, you need to practice in a right way. Otherwise, whatever I configure, whatever you configure, you will never get any doubt, you will never get any error. Because in the class, if I am showing, I will show it correctly only, and I will get the result, I'll get the document posted. When you follow the same step, you will also get the result, you will also get the document posted. So you feel that I'm able to create the setting, I'm able to post the document, I'm able to generate the report. This is it. But you are supposed to question yourself, why like this? If I don't want like this, what I will do? And if there is a mistake, how I will rectify? This is how you have to think. And when these thoughts are striking your mind, that is where your learning begins. If you have no questions, if you have no confusions, you are not learning SAP FICO. SAP FICO is all about questions only. It's all about doubts, confusions, these kind of things. If these are not happening straight away, you are able to understand everything in one go, you are not learning anything. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. That you have to realize. Okay, here this business blueprint or this finalized business process is a something which is very key, which is very important before you do configuration, without which you cannot start your config. Meaning there is something called approval sign off. There's something called sign off or approval. You'll have to receive the approval or you have to receive the sign off from your client on the business blueprint document. This business blueprint is a Word document, a simple Word document. The way you have your resume, in the similar way you have the business blueprint. Resume you will not share anybody in the Word format because others can easily modify if it is shared in Word format. What you will do, you will prepare resume in the Word format, you will convert Word into PDF, you will share resume in PDF format to anybody so that others cannot modify PDF. Word I can modify and then save it, PDF I cannot edit it. So same way, when you're talking about business blueprint, you will have a MS Word document. In that document, you will capture all the information and then you will convert that Word document into a PDF document. You will share that PDF document with the client. Client will go through the business blueprint document. They will say that this blueprint is signed off or we confirm, we approve the blueprint. Once your business blueprint is approved or signed off, that is where your configuration document will begin. That is where you are going to start working on the configuration. When you are doing the configuration, you have to make sure business blueprint document. From this, you have to do the config. Once your configuration is completed, you have to show it to the user. Again, you need to show this is what we discussed before, and I have done the necessary changes, necessary setup in the system. Please test now. And that time when you are performing user acceptance testing or UAT, your client, your users will sit and test the system completely. When they are sitting and testing the system completely, they will make sure everything is working as expected. Minute points also your client will test, your user will test. When we are testing, when we are practicing, we will do all the fancy practice. Fancy practice in the sense, you will post a document, you will put the amount as 1111, 2222, 1000, 100, 1234, your mobile number, something you will put whatever comes in your mind, or randomly you will type on keyboard. But your client, when your user is testing, that way they will never test it. They will test it in a very particular manner. Practical business transaction they will take, they will post it. Date, amount, GL account, text, whatever they are giving, everything they will give in a clear cut manner. They will test the document, and when you're testing in this way, you will find lot of defects. When you test in this way, you will find lot of defect, because what we did a fancy testing. We did a fancy practice, fancy testing. In your fancy, nothing will be found out. You find everything is fine because your high level testing, whatever you're doing, you put if it is accepting, no error is coming, control S. Your focus is always on no error. But in the real time, it is always error only. So meaning your practice, your learning is error based. If you are getting error, understand why error has come, what mistake I did, why I did this mistake. You need to understand, learn from your errors. Okay, meaning I should not directly post this. Before posting, I should understand what I am trying to post. I should get this information. Accordingly, I need to move forward. Initially, you will get a lot of errors, lot of difficulties, challenges at the beginning. This is quite common. You have to get at the beginning only. Later on, all the errors one by one you will sort out. You will start becoming comfortable. You will start gaining confidence. That is where towards the end, you will be in a position to explore, practice topics on your own. Even if I show this is how you need to do, these are all the configuration steps, this is the requirement. Make sure you are in a position to do it on your own. Experiment, explore the system on your own. That is what is your actual learning. It is not that I will show something, only then you will follow, only then you will understand. That dependency, as long as you have, you will never grow. You will never become comfortable. You will never become confident as long as you have dependency, including on me. Though I will be there, but you are not supposed to have that dependency. That dependency only at the beginning, until you become confident, until you become familiar with the system, until you are comfortable. Once you reach to a level where you are now comfortable, confident, that is where you should start applying your mind, practicing on your own, different scenarios and all. How you are going to do is your personal interest, whether you spend more time on it, or you will learn with peace of mind, ignoring the time and all. It's up to you, because you know what are your personal commitments. Accordingly, you need to plan, and then you need to learn. But you have to have the clarity in your mind that this is not something that you will learn in 3 months, you will learn in 4 months, next month you will be in the job. Not going to happen. That is not going to happen. If somebody is with that intention, please change your mindset. Okay, after that your client will do UAT. In the UAT, they will come to know whether things are working fine as expected or not. If they are working fine, it is okay. If they are not working fine, they will give you defects, in the sense they will say this is not working fine, this is not what we expected, we told a different thing, now system is working in a different way. They will give you different feedback. Based on the feedback, you will rework on the system. That is where you are going to provide support. And it is a continuous effort. It's a continuous cycle. It keeps on running, because as a consultant, you may be working on different projects, different clients, different scenarios, different requirements. Your work, whatever you do, is not fixed, is not straightforward. You may be working in implementation project, you may be working in a support project, you may be working in a rollout project, or you may be working in a migration project. Based on the nature of project that you are working, you have to understand accordingly what is your responsibility, what will be your contribution, what you are supposed to do in the project, what is expected from you. Basically, if you have that clarity, it is easy for you to move forward. Otherwise, what will happen, you will be under an impression that whenever you go to the office, every day 8 hours you have to sit and do the practice. How many company codes you will create, how many chart of accounts you will create, how many configurations you will do 8 hours a day every day. You don't do it. That is just part of your activity. And there are many more activities, there are many more things that you will be working on it. That is what you have to know. When you slowly start understanding, okay, this is what you will have to do, then it is easy for you to understand whatever we talk, whatever I explain, whatever I show you on the system, whatever the scenarios that I will write. Only then it is possible. Otherwise, whatever I talk, instead of giving you clarity, it will give more confusions. It will create more, the disturbance in your mindset, that why he is talking all these things. Because according to you, you have seen SAP FICO in a different way, and according to the real time and whatever the way that a candidate is supposed to get it trained is in a different way. Since there is a miscommunication, since there is a misperception between what is needed and what you are learning, that is where it creates a confusion. Even if I don't tell all these points at this moment, and if I straight away talk about whatever comes in my mind, whatever the way I want you to learn SAP, everybody will get confused. When I say everybody will get confused, you will never understand why I'm talking all these things, why I'm not talking about SAP FICO, why I'm talking about these points. Only those who are really interested in SAP FICO will get connected to it. Or those who are completely new to SAP FICO will be able to understand because they know nothing before. So whatever I talk, they will follow with me. But the problem comes with the people who are already familiar with SAP. When I say who are already familiar with SAP, as I mentioned, most of the people are already familiar with SAP in any means. Maybe somebody is already trained, somebody is already learnt SAP FICO, somebody had attended interviews, somebody is attending interviews, somebody is working in SAP. So we are all with different mindsets. When we know that we are all with a different mindset, whatever I am teaching and whatever the way that I am going to explain, whatever the way is my approach, if you are connected to me, that this is how, okay, he is going to talk, this is how we are going to understand, it is easy for everybody to understand, so that we will not have any confusion. Otherwise, what will happen? Somebody will understand, somebody will not understand, because we are all not on the same page. So for us to come to a same page, we need to have certain points to be discussed. Though they will create confusion, I don't mind, because when I actually start talking about SAP, I will talk about, or I'll talk from basic accounting, what is debit, what is credit. From there, we will start our SAP classes. It is not that straight away we will open SAP screen. I will not open SAP screen for the first 2 to 3 weeks. You will not even see I'm working on SAP screen. I'll make sure you will understand many things about SAP FICO even without looking at the SAP screen. What happens, what is this, what is it, everything I'll make you understand without showing SAP screen, so that when I log into SAP screen, whatever I do, you are all aware of it. Theoretically, conceptually, you have a basic good understanding about it. Now your understanding, we are bringing it into practical by taking real-time scenarios. Otherwise, what will happen when I do the config? You will be focusing on what I am doing, where my cursor is going, and where I am clicking. This is where you are focusing. I don't want you to focus on what I am doing. I want you to focus on why I am doing all these things and what is my requirement, why I am creating ABCD, why I am creating 1, 2, 3, 4, why I am posting for 100, and after that, what report I am seeing. Don't focus on what is the T code I am opening, what input I am giving. Look at what exactly I am checking from it, and on what basis I am checking, on what basis I am posting, and what is my base, what is my requirement, who will give all this in the project, and how you will decide that this is how you need to proceed. This is where I want you to focus. And if you have to focus on these areas, you should have a different mindset. Only then it is possible. Otherwise, what will happen? Whatever I tell, whatever I talk will create unnecessary confusion that I don't want anybody to have. So for that to happen, no other go, we have to refresh our mindset first. Make sure we are all on the same page. It takes 1 or 2 days. Now this is our day 2. After tomorrow, you all will be on the same page. Then when I talk about SAP, then when I talk about the different points, you are all in a position to connect why we are talking about different points. Okay, remember this point alone, that configuration is not straightforward in SAP FICO. Before configuration, after configuration, you have somebody above you, you have somebody below you. Client or your business will have to approve the blueprint. Only then you will do the config. Your configuration will be tested by the user. They will confirm it. Again, after receiving the confirmation only, your config will go to live. In short, the production system. Otherwise, it will be a defect. Whatever you configured is not correct. Make sure you are able to understand these points. Accordingly, you will be in a position to practically relate as a consultant what you will be doing, how you will be working on system. Else what will happen? We will end up knowing only the configuration. As you know, configuration will not allow you to learn the subject. That is not going to allow you to get selected in any interview. Clear? So we will stop this here today, and the remaining points, the rest of the points, we will be continuing in the tomorrow's session. Initial days we will be spending less time because we are talking about different points which may be new to most of the people. I don't want to talk for long time, creating unnecessary confusion. So that initial days we will be talking for less time, key important points. After that, when I increase the time, you will not be confused. So that time I will be talking for 1 hour or 1.5 hours depending on the topic what we're discussing. Okay, fine then. So any questions, confusions, whatever you have, I will be clarifying your questions and confusions once I'm done with one more session, because there are few more points that I want you to understand. Once those points are understood, once those points are explained, then I will start clarifying your confusions, questions, whatever you have at the end of the session every day after tomorrow's session, because there are some more points which we'll have to understand. Once you understand that you are clear, then it is easy for everybody to understand. Make sure you are able to follow what I am talking at the beginning days, because I am new to you, you are new to me. First we need to make sure you feel comfortable with what I am talking, what I am explaining. Straight away don't expect everything will be understood, because if you are able to understand everything in one go, then something is wrong there, because SAP's FICO is not something that you will understand straightforward. It will create a lot of confusions, it will create a lot of question marks in your mind. You have to rectify every confusion, you have to rectify every question mark, and then you need to move forward. You have a lot of difficulties at the beginning. Remember, difficulties with me only at the beginning. Later on we will make everything simple, we will make everything easy, so that you can practice yourself, you can experiment on the system confidently, individually, without having any dependency. It's not that I will talk nice content at the beginning, or I'll explain things which will make you feel comfortable, which will attract you. I don't talk in that way. I talk in such a way that things will create fear in you. I will talk in such a way that you will get scared about SAP FICO. That is what the reality is. That is what the reality, and you have to know the reality. You need to accept it. Whether you like, you don't like it, we have to accept it. Otherwise, the simple point, whoever is learning SAP FICO, if this is the fact, everybody would have been a FICO consultant. Now the reality is not like that. If 100 people learn SAP FICO, 90 will not become FICO consultants. Only 10 will become FICO consultants. Because 50 candidates will leave SAP FICO even before completing the course. You have to know the facts. Only then you will decide what is your competition. In fact, there is no competition for FICO. If you know SAP FICO properly, there is no competition for you. You are simply getting scared for no reason. Everybody will get afraid for no reason because they don't know what to do. When you do not know what to do, what will come in your mind is only fear. When you know what you are supposed to do, and when you are confident, when you are comfortable on it, you will not care about who is sitting next to you. You will go talk comfortably, confidently. Whoever is the other person will get convinced with what you are talking. Make sure you are comfortable, you are confident, and you are in a position to convince the other person. That should be your target. Don't think about that person, this person, they are practicing more, they are learning more. You do not know, they may be practicing 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, whole day they may be practicing. Or you may not be able to practice because of your different commitments. Please don't compare with the other person. Go at your own peace of mind. Go at your convenient time slot to practice. Go at your own pace. Don't try to speed up and all. That way it is not going to work. There is no shortcut. You have to follow the straight procedure only. Okay, fine then. So we'll connect and we'll continue the remaining points at the same time tomorrow. Good night.